This podcast is a casual conversation about mental health. All topics discussed are based on our own personal opinions and should not be interpreted as professional advice. If you need assistance with your mental health, please contact a healthcare provider. I'm overstimulated. Expect the long-awaited abolition of my brain.
But if mentally we synchronize, despite what we despise, there's a chance that maybe I won't go insane. Hi, friends.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to Mental Sync, the only show where we take a deep dive into our greatest nightmares and talk about
Our greatest fears.
and talk about our greatest fears and the things that are inside the ocean, because that's terrifying.
Yeah, well, the ocean's a big one for you, isn't it?
I hate the ocean. I love the
Yeah.
ocean. I like to be at the beach, but I
Sure.
just anyway, that's what we'll get into today. But welcome everybody. This is our first
One day
part.
we're gonna learn how to open these things.
I think we do a
It's-
great job. I think it's because they're awkward. That's why they work.
Yeah, maybe.
But anyway,
Oh, man. Anyway.
the reason we bring that up in the beginning of our intro is because today
Mhm.
we are going to talk about phobias. And the first part of our phobias that we're going to talk about are natural environment phobias.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are, I think we should say we've got a few different types of
Yes.
phobias. We learned that phobias basically break down into a few different categories. Did you write these down? Because I thought I wrote these down, and now I'm looking at the notes, and I'm
don't
realizing I
see
don't have them written down.
I should let you guess. You should guess because I
Guess?
do.
Oh, why do you do this? Okay.
Because I love
Ugh.
you.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sure. So the first one that we had was natural environment,
Mhm.
which was a lot of the ocean, natural disasters like tornadoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, blizzards, space. I would count, I believe, as natural environment. Another one that
Do you want me to
remember.
Do you want me to
Do you know
interject?
already?
Because I googled it.
I want to guess one. I want to guess
Okay.
one of the others. I want to say one of them was situational.
Yes, it is correct.
Situational. Yeah. I paid attention during our production meeting.
And then the other ones
Tell me the others. I
are
don't remember the others.
animal phobias
Animal phobias.
and bodily phobias. So like blood or vomit.
Bodily
Or,
phobias.
yeah.
Bodily phobias?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that one. I don't remember talking about that. For some reason.
You don't remember talking about like the blood and injections and like vomit.
I guess it was so horrible that I just blacked it all out. Because I have those. Wow, this is going great. I'm still riding on this very confusing amount of sleep that I've gotten. Because I got technically the right amount of sleep, but I woke up at 3 a.m. to 3:30 to bring my sibling to the airport, and then got back home at 6:30 a.m. and then went back to sleep and then woke up, and now I'm kind of like, what year is this? Like, I got less than
7.
8 hours of sleep, but I slept into the day more than I
Yes.
wanted to, so
Yeah, it just screws up your circadian rhythm.
yeah.
But
So it's gonna be a messy episode. I'm
that's
excited.
fine. We love that. So,
Woo!
today we're going to talk about natural environment phobias.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that I'm deathly afraid of the ocean or any body of
Yeah.
water. And I think
Yeah,
this
yeah,
plays
yeah.
into like the whole like fear of the unknown, right? Like you don't know what's swimming underneath you. Oh my God, that gives me like
Right.
just the worst like heart palpitations thinking about that. Like when I'm
Mhm.
watching like movies that are like about like sharks and stuff, I literally am like when people are just like trying to survive in the ocean, like I'm genuinely the
Nope.
entire time I'm watching it like so like I'm like this just made it so much worse.
No, I can't handle water movies, like movies about like water
Water.
creatures. Terrifying to me. It actually, it kind of does. I know we're going to talk about natural environment, but for me, I think it's the animal part of
The
the
natural
natural
environment.
environment that bothers me, because it's like the ocean. I mean, were there no animals in the ocean, I wouldn't have a problem. I'd be totally fine.
But would
It's
we
the
know?
fact that it's like,
Would we
right.
know?
but you wouldn't know. But some of the, I think, most horrible and most successful horror games are games where you're trying to avoid something in the water, because it's just like, I think it relates to like in a dream you get really stressed out when you're not able to control your body and like move the way you want to move, and like you're trying to move down a hallway or whatever, but you can't make progress.
Yeah.
That actual lack of control, for me, the one of the only places where I actually feel that in real life is in the water, when I'm just like, I can't move as fast as I know I'm capable of moving normally, and I feel hindered physically. And
So my fear of that is more so like I'm like afraid of like drowning.
yeah,
Like
drowning's
and like
that would
being
be a
like
shitty way to go.
and like being like in the like the whole idea of the ocean, like just like having these like waves that could just like pull you under, like capsize your boat. Like you'll never catch me dead on like in the
Yeah.
middle of the ocean in a boat. Actually, that's a lie because I went to Australia before my senior year of high school,
Yeah, you did.
and we went out to the Great Barrier Reef. And
Oh
let me
man.
tell you about my entire anxiety-ridden, bumpy ride out to the middle of nowhere to be on a
Tell me all about
big,
it.
flat, like floating deck. Like, and then the boat just leaves, and you're just
The boat just
the
leaves.
boat just left, and then we're
He's,
just
all right, good luck.
literally.
See you later.
So they drop you off. There's like
Wait,
tables. There's like picnic tables as if you're gonna sit there in the ocean. There's cell service out there. My mom like FaceTimed me while I was sitting on that at that picnic bench, and they were like, my mom's like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "In the middle of the ocean. Why is there service out here? Do we need to call for a boat? Do we have to like call to get picked back up? I will be.
What are we
I
gonna
volunteer to
do?
make sure that the boat comes back." No, but
Oh,
you
that's
know, that was
terrifying.
one of those moments where I actually faced my fear, because I'm like, this is like a like once in a lifetime opportunity for me to be out in the middle of the ocean and like at the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. And it was funny because I struggled while I was out there the entire time to want to get in the water, because what they do is they take you out like where you can like actually like snorkel. You can even scuba dive if you want, but you can like snorkel and like look
That's
around,
cool.
and they'll show you like the big fish and like everything. There's this giant fish. He's probably like 5 feet, like 5 feet long, and he's like big and fat, and he comes over and you can like pet him. And he was really cute, but it was terrifying.
That sounds so nice.
But I was like, I have to get in this
I don't
water.
know.
So my other option was there were like these like little tiny like canoe like boats that were like glass bottoms, so you could like see and you can be on the boat, and like someone who like knows how to do this like would take you out there. And
Right.
but the problem that day, that wasn't available because the waves
Oh,
were so
God.
big that like it was like you would potential to like capsize in the middle of like the ocean. So I was like, all right, Emily, you're gonna get in the water for at least like 10 minutes to have the experience of a lifetime and just like look at the
You're gonna have fun.
well, like they were like taking out tours, and all my friends on the trip were like going in and they were like having a great time, and I'm sitting up there at my picnic bench like, that looks great. But so I got in the water. You'd be proud of me. I got in the
I'm
water.
very proud
I put
of
my
you.
little. They make you put like a life jacket on and everything. So,
Yeah,
so
of
I
course.
put my life jacket on, and I get my little snorkels on.
Just your little snorkels.
Yeah, those.
There are a few different kinds of snorkels for those listening who don't know. There are the snorkelless snorkels and the snorkely snorkels, and the latter is what you're going to want to go with whenever you're on
A snorkely adventure.
a snork venture, if you will.
So I go to get in, right? Because on the side of the little like floating piece of driftwood you're on, there's like a seat to sit down, and then there's like a metal cage type of a thing below you so that you can put your little flippers on and like get in the water. And so I got my snorkel, I got my flippers, and I'm sitting on this bench, and the entire time, because the water was really rough that day, we're like,
Oh my god!
if anyone can't see me, I'm like rocking back.
For those listening to the podcast and not watching, Emily is thrashing her body about in her chair uncontrollably.
With my snorkely,
with a face, with her snorkely snorkel on her face, but otherwise her face suggesting terror, fear, discomfort,
Yes.
A sight to behold.
So anyway, this instructor like emerges out of the deep blue of the ocean with like a light. What are those things called? Lifesaver looking things. What are those called?
Life
Is
preservers.
that what they're called?
Yeah.
Cool. So he comes back with like this.
Tube
I
guys.
also don't understand like where he got it from because
Floaty
he
mans.
like went into the water and then came back with it.
Oh.
So
Oh.
I don't know where he was storing it, but it was like
Yeah, they just keep those under the boat in case you need them.
So yeah, it wasn't a boat; it was a piece
That's
of
so
driftwood.
strange.
a driftwood with picnic tables.
That's just where they keep them, in case anyone's falling overboard. You gotta be like, throw them the life preserver, and it's like, oh, it's in the water, and it's like,
you just have to find it.
Okay. Can he swim to it? Well, no, he's drowning. That's what the issue is. Okay.
So basically, he comes back. It's probably the fish's job, like that giant fish. He's the keeper of the life.
You think the fish is employed to handle all life preserver needs?
When the guy goes down and gives him the signal, he goes down to his little storage unit under the water in his little reef, comes back up with a life preserver.
He keeps it next to his office where he clocks in and out.
It's fine.
It's not easy for him, that guy. It's a tough job.
Yeah. So
he looks like they're like, oh, you want to pet the fish, but that's a 60-hour-a-week gig. He's got to be ready to be pet all the time.
Yes. So
it's not easy, but he does it for his family.
Yeah, so. He does. He's got 7 children.
He has 7 children.
So anyway, the reason I'm telling you this story is it gets there's a point to this long ass story that is just kind of hilarious.
Okay.
So he comes back and he like has this life preserver, right? And he like he's like, you can hang on if you want, but you don't have to. I'm like, I'm hanging on.
I would like
to.
So
I was like literally there was like little things on the side, like little ropes that you could hold on to, and he like kind of tugged you around. Like, like the ocean while you're like looking. And most people like went underneath and like looked, and I held on not to the rope on the outside of the preserver, but inside the middle of the preserver. And then I just put my head down and like looked underneath the water. And so I did it for like 2 minutes. And what happened to me was I turned around like in the water just to like look back at what was behind me. And there was nothing but ocean. You couldn't see land. You couldn't see anything. And there's just these waves like coming at me. And I was like, peace. And I swam faster than I've ever swam in my entire life back to the piece of driftwood with picnic tables on it. And I got on there and I sat my ass down on the bench and did not move for the entire rest of that trip until we got back on the boat to go back to like land. That was my experience at the Great Barrier Reef.
Wow, well, that's
thrilling.
Horrible. And now I hate the ocean.
Yeah. Well, no, I hated the ocean before that, and it just made it so much worse. So yeah, it's more so for me that fear of like we don't know what's under here. Like a shark could be like. Right. So I guess it is more of an animal thing, like right, something could injure me.
For me, it's not the ocean doesn't bother me so much. I've had overall pretty positive experiences with water.
I mean, same. But I'm just scared of it for some reason, just unreasonably scared.
No, I get it. But what bothers me more, what scares me more, I should say, is the wrath of Mother Nature, the hurricanes, the earthquakes especially. Hurricanes don't really scare me, maybe as much as they should, but earthquakes scare me. As someone who is working towards being a writer for a career, moving to LA does not tempt me for specifically that reason. The weather tempts me.
You're preaching
I love
to
the weather.
Choir. I'm a big baby.
But like earthquakes?
I'm afraid of everything.
Earthquakes? People in California,
the
I've talked to them about this.
Shaking.
They're like, yeah, the ground is shaking. It's fine. They're like, but you guys over in the Northeast, you guys deal with blizzards.
I rather like
who? Yeah. So what?
I have
just
to say,
don't go outside.
That's the
just stay in.
Only like in like weather type or like natural disaster type situation I would be okay in is a blizzard. The rest of them, though.
Yeah, the rest of them, no.
Absolutely not. I don't understand how people.
Tornado?
Yeah, you know the people who just live in
No.
like one of my cousins. She's like out there in Oklahoma, just like living her life up, and like, oh, we had like 4 tornadoes pass through the town the other day. I'm like,
I would not be able to exist. I would be so afraid all the time of just like, yeah, something could just rip right through here.
yeah. You know what else I'm afraid of? I'm like definitely afraid of
What?
like fire.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's natural environment. That counts.
Hmm.
Um,
Like also California and like fire. Like they're just like
yeah,
on fire half of the
spontaneous
year,
fires just like happening.
and they're just like,
Or
yeah,
like when it's dry and there's lightning and it just like starts
yeah,
fires.
that's like
That's
terrifying.
scary. Yeah.
And they're just out here like, oh yeah, like half of our state's on fire, but it's. I mean, I gotta go to work. Like they're just like driving.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the videos of like the fires that like people are driving by and they're like filming and they're like feet from
Yeah.
like
I have
I was
friends
like
in California that they've been sending me pictures, especially I forget when it was. I think it was like after quarantine, but it was like, well, maybe it was like last year at some
the
point.
big fires,
But
like the
when the big fires, but like when the entire California sky was just bright
red.
red,
Yeah.
like cartoonishly red. And it was like, that's so
I'd be like, the
scary.
end is near.
The end.
Yeah, so there's
Man.
that. You know what else scares the crap out of me is the idea of the people who work like the ocean in general is scary, but like the people who work in like cold water that could like fall overboard, just die of hypothermia in like 3
Oh
seconds.
yeah.
Like the what's the name of that
Like working
show?
in like the
Deadliest
Arctic.
Catch. Like those people in the Bering
Oh yeah,
Sea.
yeah. Nah.
No, I would watch that
Good for
show.
you.
I would
Have
watch that show
fun,
like
but nah.
on the edge of my seat with my dad, and he'd be like, "That's kind of cool," you know, and I'm like, "He's gonna fall off the boat. He's gonna fall off
No,
the
hate
boat."
that. Hate it.
I
Hate it.
think
Hate it.
one or two people have fallen off the boat on that show, and they've like showed them like rescuing them and whatnot, and I'm like, they don't pay those people enough. I know they get paid well, but they don't get paid well enough. You couldn't pay me.
Man.
You couldn't pay me like bajillions of dollars to do it. I would never. I'd
Hmm.
be like, that's okay.
So something that I kind of want to get into about is how you talked about how, or you mentioned how, it's the ocean especially is like a lot of the fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
But I think that actually applies to a lot of natural environment situations, because like I have a very hard time believing that all these people in all these other biomes and all these other like environments where like tornadoes are more prominent and earthquakes are more prominent, I have a very hard time believing that they're just these like, everyone else except for us up here are just these rugged hard people that aren't afraid of anything, because they're all afraid of blizzards. Like
Yeah.
people like can't fathom the idea of
So I
blizzards,
guess it's
which is
like
mind-boggling to
a
me.
desensitization to where you live, right? Like something you
Yeah,
experience your entire life isn't going to be as scary as someone who's like seeing their first tornado
right.
unfold in front of their eyes.
And I feel like all of that also leads up to the like fear of the unknown, which, just in terms of being a I mean, in a different sense, where the ocean, it's the fear of the unknown, and like I don't know what is below me right now. I don't know what is there, but also in terms of like natural disasters, I feel like being less, not even less educated, but less experienced in dealing with
Mhm.
those types of disasters is where that fear like comes
I
from.
just had a flashback to watching the Mindy Project. Have you ever watched that?
I actually haven't. I've been meaning to.
So
I love Mindy Kaling.
there's an episode where she goes to California and there's like
Hmm.
there's an earthquake and she brings helmets. Is it I can't remember if it's her, whoever she's like I can't remember who exactly it was, if it was her or if it was the person she was with who was like afraid. But like as the earthquake is happening, the person who's been to California more times and is like, it's not a big deal, is just like standing there. And she's like, get your
Yeah.
helmets on, or whoever it was, get your helmets on. They're getting their helmets on. They're like under a table. And then it just stops and that person's just like, like terrified. And I just had total like, as you were saying all that,
Yeah.
just because, yeah.
I mean, because the reality is, if you live in an environment where those types of storms and weather patterns are, is earthquake a weather pattern? I don't know, disasters, whatever. If those environmental things are more common, you are going to be more accommodated. Like your life and like the physical structure of your house is going to be built in a way that is
Right.
meant to sustain earthquakes or like tornadoes, I guess, like just high winds. And like everything up here is very much built and accustomed to accommodate for blizzards.
Right.
But
Like,
it makes sense that
yeah.
people who don't have homes built that way, or I don't know
Well, no, no,
I don't know exactly how it works, but
well, no,
you know what I'm
I know
saying?
what you're saying, because I think, wasn't it in Texas, like Texas, like 2 years ago maybe, they had that big blizzard, like a blizzard in Texas for like the first time like in forever,
Oh
and
yeah, the
like their
one that where
infrastructure,
Ted Cruz just like
yeah,
dipped out and
yeah,
was like later.
their infrastructure wasn't built for that, so like their highways were like
Yeah,
like so many people died in like car accidents like driving in the snow. And then the other thing is like
horrible.
there's been people who have to like push the snow off of their roof because they haven't had snow on their roof before, and they don't know if it'll withstand the weight of all the snow. Like, can you imagine shoveling your roof?
No, no, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Never.
So yeah, so there's
Terrible.
that. I just don't think I could ever. I'm like, I get nervous even here in the summer when it's like humid and there's like potential tornado warnings. I'm like,
Yeah,
no, thank
scares me.
you. No, thank you. And the other thing, like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It scares me. Like, it's just, again, fear of the unknown, right? You never know when something like that could just like strike. Like, it just happens and it scares the crap out of me. I'm literally such a
Yeah.
baby. I'm so scared of like everything. Like, I'm afraid of like water. I'm afraid of fire. I'm afraid of like thunderstorm. Not really afraid of thunderstorms. I like thunderstorms, but like the potential for the thunderstorm to like produce a tornado, because I've watched the Weather
Yeah, yeah,
Channel.
yeah.
I have watched Storm Chasers. I know how tornadoes form, and you better
I,
believe that I'm staring up at the sky whenever
I'm so I'm not trying to laugh at you. I'm just it's that I've watched the Weather
I've
Channel.
watched
I've
it.
wa- I know all about
I
these weather
do. I
patterns.
do. I do. I have
Believe you me.
I I know things about the sky.
Yeah, right. Name three things.
It's blue, there's clouds
That's
and
one. Okay, two things.
and planes fly
Name
in
one
them.
more. Yeah. Lucky guess.
Lucky guess. Um
Um, what I'm interested. I don't know if you have any information ready or off the top of your brain, but I'm curious to know where this kind of comes from. These fears of. I mean, I'm sure there are a bunch of different places, but just on the topic of phobias in general, and if we can relate it to natural environment, like where because people have such different degrees of phobias, like there are things that are much more like space is a natural environment,
yeah,
like the fear of like outer space,
right.
but it's also very distant. Like I feel like people who are afraid of space, um like you did you bring that up? Are
I think
you
I did.
or was that
The whole
me?
idea is, I
Okay.
mean, granted, anything that I don't know much about like that is terrifying.
Right,
Like the
because outer
whole,
space
we could just like be
scares me,
eaten by
but
like a black hole.
yeah, right. um
We have
and that's
what
why I
this
wasn't
comes.
sure if
I
that
think
was my
what
fear or yours.
all. I think it's both. I think we both had this conversation about it.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing for me about space, or like all of this and the fear of the unknown, I guess, is the lack of control.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
have no
The
control
lack of
over it, and that is like terrifying.
yeah.
But
But then you have your other like hopefully um hopefully most people aren't terrified every single day at all times that a black hole is going to eat us up because there's a certain level of acceptance which is a really strange and maybe dark thing to say, but you have to go about living your life, and you can't spend every day being afraid that
right.
we're gonna get eaten up,
So
the sun's gonna explode. I don't know. It's what are your thoughts on that? I think
so
that's something interesting to get into.
well, like to go back a little bit about like where fears and phobias come from.
Mhm.
They're a form of anxiety, and
Yeah.
anxiety is a disorder of estimation. If I'm at a campfire right, and everybody's safe and sitting around at a safe distance, I am anxious that someone is going to get burned, someone's going to get hurt, I'm going to fall into the fire somehow, like miraculously I'm just going to end up burning inside of that fire. Like literally that's my fear. Now,
Yeah.
there is valid thoughts to the fact that fire can equal hurt, right? It can equal
Yeah,
pain.
yeah.
But my
Yeah.
estimation of how that happens, right? Like just like, oh, I'm just very afraid of that. I don't want to get near it. I don't want to is wrong, right? Like
Right.
because I'm safe, the fire's not going to miraculously just consume me. Again, I'm not going to just like end up in the middle of this fire burning. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to just like
I do. Yeah, yeah.
miraculously combust. So that
Just
estimation
come up and just grab you
so
and
that
pull you in.
yeah, pretty much. That's what I was envisioning about that.
Yeah, I could tell.
But what happens in those moments is your brain is like, yes, there's a valid fear here, but the amount of that fear is kind of incorrect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're jumping to an extreme with it. Like
Does
it's
your brain recognize that, or are you just saying that's what your brain is
I'm saying that's
doing?
what it's doing.
I
I
see.
mean, I know that
Yeah.
from my own like learning about like fears and
Right.
phobias and things like
And
that,
like
but
in reflection you might realize that.
yes.
So what do you do to ground yourself when in the because it's very easy I think in reflection to be like, yeah, in retrospect that was an overreaction, or in retrospect that wasn't actually something to be
So
afraid about. But in the moment it's so hard to do that.
So I think the first is recognizing the fear. So like what the other aspect to fears other than like that anxiety that it is an anxiety is that typically most fears are a learned behavior.
Mhm.
And I have learned, I feel like I'm going to trash my mom for a second. I'm not trashing my mom for her parenting styles. My mom is just also very anxious, but my entire childhood my mom was very like, "Oh my god, don't do that." Like that was the reaction,
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god,
Oh
you could
yeah.
get hurt," right? So I immediately was learning these like, "Oh, fire's bad. I'm going to get really hurt. If I touch that, I'm going to get burned." Like there wasn't a nice way of being like, "Emily, not a nice way. That's not what I meant." But like there wasn't a calm way of saying,
I know exactly what you're saying.
yeah, so there wasn't she wasn't like because she was nervous about my well-being and my safety and I'm her
Yeah, of
first
course.
child, so that's
Of
like
course.
heightened, you know. So she's like what should have happened in those moments I guess would have been like a teaching moment. Emily, the fire is very hot. If you get close to the fire, you could get very hurt, and I don't want you to get hurt. Like,
Yeah.
so just keep a safe distance from the fire. But instead, I'd get a little too close to my mom, and be like, Emily, like, like, so there's that,
It'd
like,
be like the Marlin from Finding
yeah,
Nemo,
there's like that
like just
startle.
stop all anything from happening
Yes.
out of fear of
Yes.
anything happening and going wrong,
Yes.
which is ooh, Finding Nemo.
Wait, let me
That's a
finish.
great example.
Wait,
No,
yes,
I'm
yes,
okay,
but
go.
let me
Okay,
finish
okay.
really quickly because the way so once what I was going to say about that is just about learning that those are kind of like maybe why you have that fear. Like when we were in the water ever in like the ocean, my mom kept her right next to like kept me right next to her. Like don't
Uh-huh.
go too far, you might get pulled out. Like the whatever is going to
Uh,
pull you out, but it's she's
that's
she's
terrifying.
she's not wrong. But if I'm with my
No.
mom, she's probably not going to allow me to get pulled out by the current. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so like I don't know, there's just like those reactions to those extreme things. So what I was gonna say about like a way to kind of cope with that would be reminding yourself if it's a really like bad phobia for you. Like let's say it's fire. Let's stick with fire because it's easy to explain situations around fire.
Yeah. Love fire.
First of all, just know that you're safe. Just remind yourself like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
I'm, I'm safe right now. I'm not nothing's gonna happen to me. Um like in regards to that fire, it's not going to come get me. It's like if
Yeah.
I keep
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then also like what I do is I just keep a safe distance that I'm comfortable, being around it. So like I don't like sit like really far away from everybody, but it might be just a little bit further than everyone else is comfortable
Yeah.
sitting. But nobody has ever questioned me on that. You know
No.
what I mean? And also
No one's who's gonna be like, I don't know. I feel like it would be very strange for someone to say like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm sitting further away from the
so it
fire,
doesn't
and
eat
people
me.
being like, that's weird.
Yeah,
Why?
right?
For what reason? It's like, no, yeah, that makes sense because this is fire,
Yeah.
and as we are putting things in there, they are getting destroyed. I can understand why you, a human person that's alive, would not want to succumb to that
Yeah.
death.
So I
Uh,
think I think a big thing about all of that too is just that and back to everything we talk about in this podcast is reframing your
mhm.
thoughts around it, right? So if it's a learned behavior, it can be unlearned or retaught in a different way. Um so creating these positive like thought patterns around it would be helpful too. So like when you're near the fire again to be like I'm safe. This is fine. Like I'm not going to get hurt like X Y and Z. might be
Like
very
kind of
helpful.
practice putting yourself in that situation
Yes.
is what you're saying, like kind of practice like getting used to the idea that it
It
is
is okay.
safe. And
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah, I actually saw something recently about a I want to say it was a baby otter that was rescued,
Hmm.
that was afraid of the water and had to be taught and trained to fish, like find fish in the water. And so they did this by setting up a kiddie pool,
Oh,
and
that's so
putting
cute.
out like a plank, and they would do this in several different steps, but they would put out like a plank with fish in the middle so that the otter had to kind of go up and could like come across the plank and then grab the fish and come out, and would keep doing that until it was comfortable being like over the water.
Yes.
And then they would do it again where it would like dip in where the fish were would dip into the water so that the otter could still like stand on the platform but had to be physically touching the water
Yeah.
in order to grab it. And it was just this process of getting the otter more and more comfortable with the
Like
idea of like,
desensitizing,
hey,
like, yeah.
the water is safe. you're
Yes.
you're okay.
It's actually
And
going to give you food and energy and be
yeah.
good for you. That's really cute. I kind of want to
Yeah,
like
it
see
was very
that.
cute. Yeah, I'll see if I can find that again and send it to
um,
you.
but yeah, so
But
there's
I'd like to talk about Finding Nemo because I
yes.
I didn't even think about that, but that's a great example of fear of natural environment manifesting into toxic behavior. But for those that I guess don't know, Finding Nemo is a story about a father who uh oh, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I guess everyone's seen Finding Nemo. He loses his wife and their bunch of eggs in a shark attack at the beginning of the movie, and therefore develops this um, insane is not the right word. Develops just this erratic fear of the ocean ultimately, which is not a great thing being a fish, but is, very afraid of the unknown and the deep parts of the sea. And as a result, in raising his son Nemo, is trying to prevent him from being in any situation whatsoever where anything could go
Hurt him.
wrong,
Yeah.
could hurt him. And as a result, he ends up really smothering his son. It hurts his relationship with his son, and then his son begins to rebel in ways that then get him in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And then it's this whole conquering his fears adventure of traveling across the ocean. And it's Dory toward the end that has this great line where he says, like, Marlin says, I promised him that nothing would ever happen to him. And she goes, huh, well, that's something like, oh, that's a weird thing to promise.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? And she goes, well, like promising that nothing will ever happen to him. That's a boring life for a little guppy, something like
Yeah.
that. Um, just super like that was something I didn't really get until I was a little older. But I was like, that's a super profound thing,
Yeah.
just to you know letting your fear get the best of you, and understanding how that you shouldn't let it affect you, and it can affect you as a person, but then that can start to affect other people.
Right.
And that's why, just like any other fears, any other behaviors, any other toxic things going on, it's something that you have to work on and work through.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
Well, so I have a really quick like conquering fear story that
Give
doesn't
it to me.
really end in like me being like, yeah, I can do this forever. It's more like I'm never doing that again. But it's kind of funny because
That's
I
okay
I
too.
still conquered the fear in the moment. So
Okay.
one of also in Australia, actually it was in New Zealand. There was a part of this because I went with like a group of people from school. It was like a school thing, and there was this little organizational like I don't know. I was going to say an organizational organization. What I meant to say was that there was this organization that like got us all together and had us like face things that were kind of like fears.
Cool.
It was called Full On. The idea that you just like face everything in life full on. They make you hike up this like mountain. They don't tell you what you're doing. You get to the
They
top,
blindfold you, they put sacks over your heads and
pretty much. No,
say march.
they don't tell you what you're
No.
doing, but then you get to the top of this like cliff and they're like, all right, we're going to harness you up and you're going to have to rappel down the side of this mountain. So they harness me up and I am shaking like
Oh.
pure on they could tell and they were like, you have to do it. There's like, we can't, like, you have to do it. I'm like talking to myself. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, it's gonna be fine. This thing's because my fear is that the little pulley thing is just gonna snap and I'm just gonna
Yeah.
fall. Yeah.
And it's and people are always like, because I relate and I know, and people are like, no, it's perfectly safe, and they give you the science of it, and it's like, yeah, but you have to understand that things happen.
Right. I'm sitting there and they're like counting me down, like, all right, like you're gonna just start going. Mind you, everybody who's like not afraid of heights took this opportunity to enjoy the scenery on their way down and like really like explore. And I get over the edge. And you better
Uh-huh.
believe I didn't even touch the side of that cliff. I mean, I pushed myself off and then just like shot myself down as fast as I could so that I could just get to the bottom of this cliff. And I got to
Just
the
free fall
pretty much.
away.
I mean, I did it in a very controlled way because, like, obviously, otherwise I would have like went splat on the ground.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
pretty much, I just let myself come down as fast as possible, like feeding it, like because you had to like feed the line to like move
Oh my
yourself.
god. Oh, it wasn't just like an automatic, like a seatbelt kind of deal
No,
where
you
you like, oh, because that's what I've done is like you repel, or like either it automatically like lets you down slowly, or there's someone else like giving you more slack. But you're saying you had to be the one.
yeah.
I would not have been able to do that.
So it was the most terrifying experience of my life. I
Uh,
got back down to the bottom and I was like on the verge of throwing up.
just lying down on the ground,
And then
just like
I literally, no, I got to the ground and I was like, I had to stand there. I literally thought I was going to throw up. And
oh.
Vinny's the name of the kid who came down after me. And he's like, "Are you all right?" I was like, "No." And he was so nice. He's so kind. He like held my hand and like walked me back up to like where everyone
Oh.
else was and was like, "Do you need something?" And I'm like, "I to not exist anymore."
To be on the ground forever and ever. Thank you.
So yeah,
Good for Vinny. We
that, but
love
I
Vinny.
did. The moral of the story is, despite me never going to ever do that again in my entire life, I did it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I didn't. I
Yeah.
guess I really didn't have a choice, but I did. I was able to do it. So what I'm going to do is I have a
Yeah.
list of fears, but like the long, really scientific names for these fears.
Oh, great.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read them to you, and you're going to guess what they are.
Okay. Are
However,
you now
there's two games to this. One is going
okay.
to be my pronunciation of these because I don't know how to pronounce half of them, more than half of them, probably 75%
Okay.
of them. And then the second game is watching you try to guess what they are.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, because we had talked about, I haven't seen any of these words, but we had talked about doing this. And I thought I was going to guess how to pronounce them, but you want to pronounce them. You want to try to pronounce them, and then I'm gonna try to guess what they mean.
Yes.
I
Because
love that.
because
So I don't even get to look at it. I don't get to
correct.
look at the word, which is gonna make it harder for me because I'm
Exactly.
a
That's why I
visual
figured that would
person.
be
Oh, that's
so much
terrific.
better.
That's so much better. Yeah, yeah.
And that being said, these are all we're gonna do this for every phobia episode we do, but these ones specifically.
I thought you were gonna say we're gonna do this for every phobia that exists.
No, but
I was like,
so these
oh,
specifically are ones that are environmental fears.
oh, okay, all right. So I got
You can
something to go off of.
yeah, that's your hint. Are you ready?
Sick.
All
I'm
right,
so ready.
Let me zoom in a little bit because I'm blind right now and I can't see.
Yeah,
Um,
can't see.
I can see, but you know.
Zoom in because you're blind. You
All
can't
right,
see. Yeah,
you
yeah,
ready for this?
yeah, yeah. I'm born ready.
Anthrophobia.
Fear of ants.
Do I want to give you?
I would think it's similar to like anthropology. So like people, fear of people.
No, fear of flowers. So what I'm going to do
Oh,
is you get.
is anthropology not people?
I don't.
Am I wrong about
I
that?
took that
Oh,
class, but
God.
then I got a D in it, so I don't think I paid attention. But
Man.
anyway, that being
I'm
said,
really at risk of looking stupid here.
same forever.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah.
But also, I would like to also note that I'm going to give you one guess and one guess only, and then I'm going to tell you what it is, just in the interest of
Tight.
time.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Astrophobia.
Astrophobia would be the fear of space.
Fear of thunder and lightning.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a good one.
Bacteriophobia.
Is that the fear of bacteria?
It is.
Wow.
1 point for you.
Oh, God.
Okay, so
Where's my diploma?
this one I don't know how to pronounce. People are gonna come at me if they know these words.
Sick. I'm excited. Not for people to come at you.
Anyway, it's
Everyone roast Emily together. No, please be nice.
Chianophobia. Chionophobia? I don't know if it's a sh or a ch. Chianophobia.
Chianophobia or Shionophobia,
Whatever
one
it
or the
is.
other. That is the fear of. That's the fear. Shionophobia. Is it? Can I? Not that I want a hint,
No,
but
you can't phone a friend and you can't get a hint.
Oh, well, so I'm guessing it doesn't. It's not anything like what it sounds
Correct.
like, because I don't know what Shiana
Yeah,
is.
I don't either.
Um,
It's a correction. Chianophobia.
Chianophobia. That is the fear of being yelled at by your principal to sing during a tornado drill.
It's the fear of snow. I personally would have named that like blizzard phobia or something like that. Blizzard phobia.
Cold frozen rainophobia.
Okay, you ready? Ready for this one?
I'm so ready. Yeah.
Dendrophobia.
Dendrophobia. Fear of dentures. No, that's not my real guess. Fear of danger. You know, there's like safety and there's danger. I'm in danger. I would say it's the fear, most likely, of 5-foot long fish that are in charge of life preservers. I don't know.
The fear of trees.
The ocean, trees.
All right. Ready for this one?
I don't know. Uh-oh. I'm seeing the buffering wheel on your forehead right now. Here we go.
Lilasphobia. So okay, so the reason I'm struggling with this is because there's a P and an S next to each other, and sometimes that's just like apoptosis, right? It's not apoptosis, it's apoptosis.
Obviously, everyone knows that.
So sometimes with the P's in this situation.
Okay. So give me your best guess one more time.
There's a P after the A.
Okay.
So I'm going to just pretend it doesn't exist.
I'm not sure that's allowed.
Lilasophobia.
Lilasophobia.
Or lilapsophobia.
Lilapsophobia. Oh, lilapsophobia. Yeah, that's the fear of lilacs.
Tornadoes and hurricanes.
Oh, okay.
Misophobia.
This isn't going well.
I think this is fantastic.
Why can't all of them just be bacteriophobia? That was so much easier.
Some of them. I think you'll get some of them.
What is it? What's this one?
Misophobia.
Misophobia. It's the fear of the grass being too itchy.
Fear of dirt and germs.
Okay, hey. Yeah, that was close.
No.
Ish. Yeah, that was close.
This one you might get.
Whoops.
Noctiphobia.
Noctiphobia, I'm guessing, would be the fear of the night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at you go.
Woo, woo.
All right,
woo.
ready?
Yeah.
Pterodophobia.
Pterodophobia. Yeah, fear of pterodactyls.
Fear of...
No, fear of... Wait. I'm thinking of like a terraformer. Is it the fear of like I don't know, like misshapen environments, fear of like hills and like the ground being like a certain shape and like yes and yes it is. Yeah.
No, it's the fear of ferns. This next one will be easy for you, I hope.
Oh god. No, I'm worried you're saying that. Now the bar is high.
Pyrophobia.
Oh, fear of fire.
Yeah, there you go.
Woo!
All right,
Okay.
I got a few more. Ready?
A few more.
Yep. This one should be one of the other ones we already did because of the way it sounds, but it's not. Tornitrophobia.
You're telling me that's not tornado phobia? You're going to look me in the eyes and tell me that tornitrophobia is not related to a tornado?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm telling you.
Tornitro?
Tornitro.
Tornitro.
Like a
Okay,
knit.
tornitro.
Tornitrophobia. Tonitro.
Tonitro.
Tornitrophobia.
Ladies and gentlemen, please get inside. We got a tornitro coming this way.
Oh my god.
Hazardous weather conditions. We're going to have to get inside. There is a tornitro warning.
Here, I'll give you one hint for this
fear.
one. This
Okay.
can happen with a tornado.
Crying. Fear of crying. Fear of high winds. Fear of lightning. Winds? Fear of high winds. Fear of
No,
low
you're
winds.
on the right track, though.
Fear of average
Nope.
winds.
What'd you say after that?
I didn't say any.
You
That's
did.
the last
You
thing I said.
You said fear of...
Fear of rain.
No, we did that.
You already said that. Fear of high winds, low winds, average winds.
It's not winds.
Fear of... I said something else?
You said lightning. Fear of lightning.
Lightning. Fear of lightning. Is it the fear of lightning?
No, I was going to tell you to keep going,
Well,
going on that
Fear
track.
of thunder?
Yes.
Okay.
I was...
All right, bang them out. Let's go. Let's get these done.
Verminophobia.
Fear of venomous creatures. No, vermin, like rats and like like Vermont.
Fear of germs.
Fear of germs. You already said fear of germs.
Nope, I said fear of dirt and germs. That's a very specific combined thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to Google if these are if these are different types of fears of this one thing, but that might have given it away. Batanophobia.
Batanophobia?
Batano phobia. Batanophobia. Batons?
The botanical gardens.
Fear
the
of germs.
Botanical gardens. Fear of germs again?
Yeah, so I wonder if there's
what's going on?
I wonder if there are different types of germs. Like some of them are
oh my god.
Like some of them are germs that
how am I
you get from
to
kids.
Learn?
Other of them are germs you get from vermins. That's...
How am I supposed to learn when everyone's choosing different words to mean the same thing? What am I? How am I to become a smarter and more learned person? Learned when everyone's just like, hey, I've got this thing and I'm gonna name it something else. Oh, we already have a word for that. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna name it something else.
Yeah.
You know, I've just decided pepperoncinophobia is now the fear of heights. I've decided that.
I like that.
I'm looking at my pepperoni chips.
But anyway, I think we should wrap up considering this has been a longer episode.
I think we should wrap up too. I think we're all done talking about this.
All right, are you ready for our quick wrap up?
Yeah. Well, so can I say the first thing that we learned today?
Yes.
Is no petadogophobia is the fear of not petting dogs.
Correct. So you know what our
Make
first
sure
rule
you pet
of the day
dogs
is?
At all times.
Yes. First wrap up. Always pet some dogs.
Find a dog and pet that dog. Please.
Please. And thank you.
And thank you.
2, I'm afraid of the ocean. I've been forced to jump off a cliff, and we don't want to do that anymore. That's what we've
Emily,
learned.
fear of heights, jumping in the oceanophobia. That's another word we learned today.
Correct. And that I am afraid of everything. That's another thing we learned.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely everything.
Everyophobia.
Don't yell at your children around fire because they might be afraid of fire for the rest of their life.
Yell at kidapyrophobia.
Yeah. And then I'd say go watch Finding Nemo.
Lack of watch Nemophobia. That's a big one of mine. And that's a big fear of mine.
Last but not least.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to pronounce these phobias so that you sound more educated when trying to read them on a podcast.
Yeah, don't be like us. Don't just try to guess it. This is I hope we get torn apart in the comments and people are like, you didn't pronounce any of the things right and these aren't even the accurate words. I think that'd be funny. So
That would be
I'm
hilarious.
looking forward to that.
Yes. So that being said, thank you for listening to our rants about things that we are afraid of. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will see you next time here on
Mental Sync.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Cool. Okay, are we happy?